Hello, I'm Mary V. Today, let's talk about playing the violin with a small hand. So you often see advice given about how to hold the violin, what the best hand frame is, what to do with the thumb, etc. And I look at these bits of advice and I think, well, you've got to adapt that for if you have a small hand. So all technique does need to be adapted to your individual, not just the size of the hand, but the physique. If it's quite small, if you've got a very short fourth finger, how strong your hands are. There's so many variables, and every single person, even if they have large hands, has to have their technique tailored exactly for them. So what do violinists with small hands need to really work out for themselves with their left hand? Well, the first thing is reaching the fourth finger. Now, it'd be easy to reach the fourth finger if we didn't have to keep our first finger in place, right? If we could bunch it all up together, there would be no difficulty playing with our fourth finger. But it's the fact that we have to keep our first finger basically in place, in the position, and we have to stretch up, right? So a lot of people learn like this, and then the fourth finger is straight. It's very stiff, and the whole hand is in difficulties. So the first thing to do is to go to the fourth finger, and then work backwards like this. Like that. So you slide, it's easier for the first finger to adapt than the fourth finger to just be rigid and straight like that. That affects the whole of the hand. So if you find a lot of stiffness and soreness and you can't really use your fourth finger properly, you need to sort of reset it, really. So you put your third and fourth finger together, right, until the fourth finger is looking great. This knuckle is nice and smooth. And then you slide the other fingers back, right, until the first finger is really on its side. That's fine. The first finger can learn to play like that, right? So you work from the fourth finger back. That's the first thing. The next thing you can do to help your small hand to stretch out is not to turn your wrist like that in order to stretch further. That is a very rigid position and it's really not advisable. Instead, when you do your fourth finger, you can learn to slightly bring your wrist in, right, like that. And that really helps to curve the fourth finger, as you can see. And then you can learn and practice with your fingers like that. So that even when you start from the bottom, you've taught your fingers the shape that they should be in, right? And the other thing that really helps is for the arm to move, right? Now, if you're playing on the E string, but you've forgotten to move your actual arm, and it's still in the place where you play the G string, then it's going to be very compressed. Something's not right. So let me just play. Do you see how much movement of the wrist and arm there actually is? For years and years, I tried to work to keep my first finger down when I was playing the fourth finger. And then one day I thought, well, if it helps me, why am I trying to stop it? So let's try it a little faster and see what happens. So you can see that every time I use my fourth finger, I'm being helped by my arm, my wrist, and my first finger, because a small hand needs all that help. So let's go to the thumb. And there's an area of the hand that people with small hands often find starts getting very painful. And it's right in here. And it's actually caused by the thumb squeezing, because the thumb can't squeeze against nothing, it squeezes against something, and this is what responds. When this part of the hand is sore and tight, then the stretching that needs to be done is very much more difficult. So how do you loosen that part of the hand and still learn to stretch up? Tapping the thumb is the answer. So if you can get a tapping thumb into your habits, that actually relieves an awful lot of that pain, and it teaches your fingers to be a little bit more independent. But the issue is that when you've got a small hand and you're squeezing here, right, between the thumb and the first finger, it really stops you stretching, the stretching that you need to do. So there are a few things that are incredibly helpful, and you do need to experiment, but you need to know a bit of technique so that you can try a few things out and see what helps you. Playing up and down just on one string is quite useful. And I think scales, if you play with the fourth finger and the first finger, you can really see the action of the arm here when I go up and down. Do you see how much the wrist and the forearm were moving there to help me? It's a really great idea to get these elements as habits into your left hand action. They're so incredibly helpful for people with small hands. And really, it's such a neglected subject, how to help people with small hands. You know, people talk about hand frame. Get your hand into one position. It's really impossible for people with small hands to get into one position. It's always moving. It's always having to change in order to make these stretches. But it's quite stable if you learn to do it as a habit. So even if your hand is tight and full of pain and you feel you'll never get anywhere, it takes a while to unravel all the tightness and everything. But believe me, if I can do it, then you can do it. Because I've got a very small hand and a very short fourth finger. So I'll leave it there, and I hope you enjoy your practice, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Bye.